Hey everybody, welcome to We've Got the Beat. In this episode, it's been a while since we've had a special guest, but we have John on the other side.
Hello.
John and I usually host different stuff for the podcast. Mindy and I usually do We Got the Beat, but we're kind of behind right now. We both took a break. So this episode, we're discussing the 35th anniversary of Out of Bounds. We usually try to stick to anniversaries, and then if we don't have another movie from the same year, we try to combine something a little similar. Out of Bounds is kind of hard to find a good pairing, and the only way I could do that was finding another ex-John Hughes nerd who kind of did an action, but not really. I think I might have made a mistake. But did you like the movies?
Okay, well, I'll say this. Hiding Out was, of the two films, the better one. Both of these are kind of like those... You're at home, it's a weekend, you can't really find anything good on TV during, it's midday. You flip over to like HBO or Showtime or something, and you got one of these things in here, and you just kind of go, well, it's background noise. And that's kind of what these films are. It's like, it's hard to say, because like Out of Bounds especially really I started drifting away on that
really?
movie.
That's the one that I love. I saw, but to be fair, I saw this as a child, and I was really caught up into it, and I still think it's pretty entertaining. But as I get older, I realize the biggest problem here is that Anthony Michael Hall doesn't want to be Anthony Michael Hall. He
doesn't want to act. He's the most wooden thing here. Like Jenny Wright's fine. I think she's she's entertaining.
I think he's trying to do the exact opposite of everything that's natural to him. Like, he needs to be a tough guy, so he needs to be stone-faced. He's like a little Charles Bronson, and like this is the first time it's ever bothered me, though. And I just realized, he's really trying to gut everything that we know about his nerd personality from his previous films, and it doesn't really work. But I also know that he was also shooting Saturday Night Live at the same time as this, so he might have just been exhausted.
Well, it's like there's things in this that I do kind of I like. Like, I think the soundtrack is pretty killer.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely fantastic.
Including to the point where you actually have Susie and the Banshees actually performing in the film. Although I don't think anyone bothered to tell Susie to not mug the camera. Like, she thinks it is a music video and it's a movie, so she's just staring straight down the lens. And I mean, there's moments that it makes sense, but there are other ones where the camera's off to the side. She should be out performing to the audience, and she's instead looking over at the camera, staring down the camera, and it's really annoying. So I'm like, well, this takes me out of the film.
Well, I think the biggest weakness of this is that Richard Tuggle is the director, a guy who only ever directed 2 movies. He did Tightrope with Clint Eastwood and this. And apparently he didn't really even direct Tightrope. It was one of these things where Clint Eastwood fired the original director, and then he couldn't hire himself because of union rules, and so they had to find anybody. And so they grabbed this guy who was competent, but just, Clint Eastwood basically directed that movie, and that movie made some money, so he got Out of Bounds, and I'm not sure he's up to snuff for it.
Oh, no. I mean, come on, there's that little motorcycle chase, and there's a few of those shots where it's out of focus. And it's not like the motorcycle goes from out of focus into focus. The shot is out of focus. I'm sitting there going, what the hell's going on here? Who said, well, this is this is good enough, let's roll with it? Did they not have additional takes? Did you not, see that and go, well, no, at this time, no one's going to ever watch this movie other than theatrical release, so... I'm sure no one gave a shit. Yeah,
I still remember the video store I rented this at. I watched it a bunch when I was a kid, and it's one of those holdouts where it just for some reason wouldn't come to DVD, and they did one of those, those manufacture on demand DVDs, and then it's never been on Blu-ray. I just got it on digital, which is what you watched as well. It didn't really make much money. It kind of broke even, cost what it made or whatever, and. In my head, I don't want to shit on this movie because I still think it's crazy entertaining. I think it moves like a fucking freight train. And Jeff Kober is a really great villain. Jenny Wright's fantastic. But I was at a convention a few years ago for the Weird Science reunion, and I got up there and said to Anthony Michael Hall, Out of Bounds is fucking rad, and we should have a really good release of it. And then I realized I was surrounded by families, and I felt like an asshole, and I sat down. But no, I still think it has some good action sequences, but you're right, it's just like, I feel like it was shot in a hurry. Maybe this is another situation where the director was fired and Richard Tuggle was brought in to quickly do this. But at the same time, he had to shoot fast because, like I said, Anthony Michael Hall was on SNL at the same exact time, and it must have
so you're limited, limited to what he could do. And what's the thing is, there's also a thing where he, as much as he seems to want to shed that dork persona, he never really does.
Yeah.
To me, and it's just like, when you get to the club fight, I'm just sitting there going, bullshit, this dork ain't fucking Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
he cannot, because all of a sudden he now has this combat experience that he's at no point has been referenced. All of a sudden he could just kick the crap out of all these guys, and it's like, no.
Yeah. Well, he's a farm kid, and that's supposed to sell you that he's tough, but I've never once, and I grew up in a farm town, I've never seen a skinny farm guy. They're all really beefy because they gotta handle this huge equipment and they gotta haul shit around. And I think that's another reason why it's not that believable. He really did shake the nerd image, though, for a long time, because we have that run of John Hughes movies, then he does this, Johnny Be Good, and then he's the villain in Edward Scissorhands, and then after that his career just kind of bounced around in like direct-to-video and cable stuff. But now he's huge. I don't know if he put on the weight for Halloween or he just has that weight now, because he looks like he swallowed a bowling ball. He looks like a meathead. And it's hard. If you didn't know him as a child, if you were to show someone like Halloween, or how that episode of Community where he's the bully with a mustache, and then show him Weird Science, people would be like, what?
Well, I guess that it's kind of the same way that how people would see Ben Affleck as the leading man and stuff, and then you go to like his first couple of roles where he's just the jock douchebag.
Oh yeah.
And it's never really any kind of charisma that he's shown in some of the films that he's been in. So it's like you would kind of go like, how did anyone let him direct movies? Look at that dumb that dumb meathead in Mallrats, or I can't think of the one before it.
It's Jenny Wright, though. It really is the scene stealer here. She has so much charisma and energy. She's really fun, but she's also like, she wants to be involved in the problem, but not in like one of those dumbass ways where you're like, why are you here? She is. I just really enjoyed her in this, and she was only in a handful of movies. This, Near Dark, I, Madman. No, I don't know if she's in I, Madman, but I know the last thing she did was like 4 years later with Young Guns 2, and then that's it. And she's sorely missed.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think she's the best part of the film. She's fun, and it's like not to be shallow or anything, but yeah, she's very cute.
Yeah. And Jeff Kober, it's kind of sad that he only ever plays villain roles, because of the way he looks. But I was friends with him on Facebook for a while, and he's a big Buddhist and very peaceful acting teacher and stuff like that. So he's like the complete opposite of the personalities that you see him in all the movies. But if you've seen Tank Girl, that's his best performance. Him as that doofus, lovable Rue mutant guy. It's so much fun. Tank Girl's sorely underappreciated. But
yes, very much so.
Besides the fact that one sequence is out of focus, but did you think that the action was pretty good?
Not too much. I like I said, I started drifting after a while.
It's a bummer. I really thought you were going to like this one.
I would say I do think they might have stole the THX sound system. I think stole something from this film's score, because it's during that climax where he's about to get shot, and the music is swelling, and I swear to God, it's that THX swell. But then again, this is a film that has a widely inappropriate score. Like, it starts off with like the most like hardcore, pulse-pounding, intimidating thing, and I'm sitting there just going, I doubt this movie's gonna match this pulse.
So Anthony Michael Hall turned down Pretty in Pink. burned his bridges with John Hughes, which I'm going to tell you right now, everybody praises John Hughes, but there's something up with him, because both Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall decided they didn't want to do like just the next thing they offered. It's not like they said they would never work with him again. They just didn't take the next thing that was offered, and he burned them out of his life. That's kind of fucking strange. But he turned down Pretty in Pink. He was offered Ducky, but John Cryer ended up getting the role, became famous for... Well, he's still famous, but he got a bunch of movies immediately after Pretty in Pink, and all 4 of them tanked. And I think this might be the best. I'm always kind of flip-flopping. Dudes is a really good idea, but I never really get what I want out of it, and we're never going to speak of Superman 4 outside of this moment. And Morgan Stewart's coming home, I cannot remember. But what did you think of Heidi Now?
Heidi Now I did actually enjoy a bit more, although I think it definitely has a lot of weirdness in it, like the plot progression where this almost 30-year-old guy.
Yeah, I think he's 27. He brings it up at one point, I think.
Yeah, he's like 27, 29, something like that. And he's in high school, and he starts dating a high schooler, and it's really, really off-puttingly weird.
Yeah, he never really seems to have a huge regret or feel bad about it. And spoilers.
He does just make up. He does go and break up with her, and it's like when he's making this decision, he's just going to drop out of high school because he's hiding there to get away from what was it? Not drug dealers. What was it? It was mobsters. It was the mobsters.
Yeah, embezzling fake bonds or whatever, junk bonds, which was a really big deal in '87. And they want to assassinate all the people that are involved in this, and so he goes on the lam, and he has a very youthful face and a really ridiculously fake beard.
Oh yeah, that. Although I will say, as fake as it was, it did age him up nice.
Yeah.
In for those scenes. It's not necessarily like a Jason Mantzoukas beard.
Yeah.
But it is on that level.
The choice that he makes with the hairdo, I still don't understand. Did he just not have enough bleach? Is that it? Or did he not know what he was doing? Or did he think that was a hip look?
Well, yeah, that was definitely like a hip look, because he was still kind of doing a bit new wave, new romantic type.
Okay.
Type thing. Even though it's '87 when this comes out, it definitely was still. He was still kind of trying to hit that sort of visual aesthetic.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's this is a wave of going back to high school undercover kind of thing, because there's this. 21 Jump Street launches that summer. There's a movie called Undercover with Jennifer Jason Leigh, which I'm sure nobody's ever heard of. It's good. Then there was Plain Clothes the next year with Arliss Howard, where he's an undercover cop trying to solve a murder. And there's like this whole wave of that going on at that time, and none of it was successful except, of course, 21 Jump Street. And this is the more comedic one. There is danger, and I don't think the final action sequence is very good. I think it's awkward and kind of weird. I think the shootout, though, in the restaurant was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know why one works and the other one doesn't. This one,
well, honestly, I'll say being a competent director probably helps. And again, I don't know necessarily, like what we have for the first film is, hearsay at best for things on that. But it definitely, the guy who directed this is, he's a music video director. He did Michael Jackson's Beat It. He did the Pat Benatar Loves the Battlefield, the Michael Jackson Pepsi New Generation commercial. So it's like he can shoot. He knows how to shoot stuff and put together coherent storylines, even in a condensed format. So
do you think it's just the set piece? Because the restaurant's very claustrophobic and it's kinetic because everybody's running, and he's got the shotgun. But in this one, it's long, it's a huge room, and he's got that rifle. What surprises me though is he had no backup weapon. When he lost the rifle, he didn't have a pistol or at least a blade on him. That was, I thought, strange.
Well, no, because you need to have our hero be able to get away, or in the climax, chase after one of the assassins.
And then he just falls. A guy who's afraid of heights. But I think what it does do right is it really plays well to John Cryer's strengths, and he bends into it. Whereas, like I said, Anthony Michael Hall was shying away from his strengths, and that's why he seems so stiff. And when Anthony Michael Hall tries to be cool, it doesn't work. Remember when the cop asked him to take his shades off and so he could see his face, whatever? And he's like, "What, man? What?
Yeah.
What do you?" And he takes it off, kind of looks to the side, looks at him, and was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to be James Dean. What?"
Yeah. In this one, he's still a nerd, but he's definitely like a cooler nerd.
Yeah. And the whole thing about him running for class president but not wanting to, but everybody's kind of like just forcing it. I thought that was an interesting subplot because it brings a lot of the other characters, the tension between them. I thought was good.
I'll be honest, that was where the movie was losing me throughout it. I really didn't care.
Oh, okay.
although I did find it hilarious that there's an interesting parallel to our recent day and age with that conservative teacher, the one who wanted it was all about the revisionist history about Nixon, and then was just going to go and fix the election so that Cryer wouldn't win.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciated that he went and said, "Hey, I'm not the real winner. This is bullshit," and admitted to it. I thought that was a good thing, because usually in these movies they're the big bullies, and there is some tension between the two because they're both vying for the same girl. But he never goes in that full-on cliche 80s, "Hey, I'll challenge you to skiing down the mountain, man."
well, that's just it. That's where the film does a good job of delaying, circumventing those expectations, because you get, like I said, that moment where you're saying like John Cryer is going to break up with with the girlfriend and stuff. He's mentioning this in a confrontation with the jock dude, and and he's sitting there like, he's like, what'd she tell you about me? Like he's gonna want to get into a fight. He's like, Cryer's like, nothing. You're a good guy. It's like, it's like, I need to drop. I can't do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you see that he wins this guy over.
We get an early performance by Keith Coogan, who would break out, I think, a couple months later with Adventures of Babysitting, and really likable actor. I kind of miss seeing him on the screen. It's been a long time since he really got a lot of work.
Yeah, this one is it. This one I think is definitely the better of the two. Everybody acts like they're actual human beings. As much as I'm, like I said, the high school plot, I really think that could have used a second pass. But hey, you're making a little adventure comedy thing.
Yeah.
So
this is from De Laurentiis' company, and he only lasted, I think, 2 or 3 years. I mean, every single last thing bombed, and most people just remember it for being the studio for Blue Velvet and Manhunter. But they did a lot of movies, and this is one of them that just faded away.
Well, I think, if I remember right, De Laurentiis is also in Evil Dead 2.
You're right, yes. That was that weird one where he couldn't release it under his name because contractually he could only release R-rated movies and not an NC-17 or unrated. I guess NC-17 hadn't existed. So they had to develop a shell company called Rosebud, I think?
Yeah, it was Rosebud, and then it returns... It did become under De Laurentiis for Army of Darkness.
Yeah, and then they went out of business soon after those 2 movies came out, and I think they ended up selling Bill and Ted to Orion, and that was the end of them.
But, no, Bill and Ted would have saved them.
Yeah, would have. Well, maybe, because I never knew if they had enough money to release these. That's the thing. A lot of these companies, they make, like, their last few movies get sold to other studios, and be like, wow, if they had been... But, like, Punisher was with New World, but New World was on the verge of bankruptcy, and whoever they sold it to just sent it straight to video. And the same thing for Warlock. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. I think Heathers is the last movie that New World put out, but a lot of independent companies died, and they had this niche, though, that they were trying to fill the big studios weren't doing. And we really don't have that now because the smaller titles go to streaming.
Yeah, well, hell, everything's going to streaming.
Yeah,
even the big titles.
I just wish they were weirder. More unique instead of like, well, they made this, let's make a lower budget version of this. Well, lately they've been huge budgets. That Red Notice is huge. Yeah,
I think that is the problem with movies these days. Let's get on a soapbox.
Back in my day.
Yeah, well, I understand why filmmaking is the way it is now, and the thing is, like, it is a shame that there are none of these more mid-tier adult-ish movies, made, just like, shit, the only one that came to my mind immediately, and I'm sorry, this is not the greatest film, but like Shakespeare in Love. You know, something it's not super high budget or high concept or necessarily just, you know, the low budget indie stuff that we get in a lot of streaming cases now. Mm-hmm. Just one of those kind of mid-tier, a Good Will Hunting, you know, something that is, you know, you can sit down and be entertained by, and it didn't cost anybody an arm and a leg to make, one way or the other.
And word of mouth and take them around. A lot of these movies, though, like the studios just didn't have enough money. They weren't drive-in material. I don't know what they were. But yeah, I think Hiding Out is the more fun one. But if you're looking for a good thrill, I would say Out of Bounds. I'm sorry you didn't like it. I thought you might dig it. But at least you like the second one.
Well, it's one of those things where, as I said, it's a Saturday film where there's nothing on. Okay, and it's the only thing playing, sort of thing. It's like, okay, well, I could watch. They have Conan, they have Demolition Man, they have. It's like one of those things where it's like,
I could go stare into the sun, or I could watch this.
The net is on. It's like, yeah, the net is on. Net or Speed 2?
Oh my no! I watched the Net. Well, fuck,
yes.
I don't know now. I haven't seen the Net forever. How are we still talking about this? I'm sorry, everybody. Let's wrap this up. John, thank you for sitting in on this episode, and we'll be back with our normally scheduled stuff. What are we doing next? I can't even remember. Our albums, right?
With the albums, and we still have a couple of movies to watch for 1990 that I need to watch.
Yeah, I kind of want to wrap up the 80s this year. I really do. I don't want anything really left as part of that 80s discussion. Thank you very much. Where can we find you on the interwebs?
I am on both Twitter and Twitch under the name Musician. MYUZISHION.
All right, you can find all our episodes under Hit Rewind Podcast, and that's it, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.